RPGs are known for providing us with compelling stories and game mechanics that break the barriers between gaming and reality. I know many, including myself, have easily put in hundreds of hours into games like Skyrim, and these games changed the industry as we know it today. There are some fantastic RPGs looking to raise the bar this year, and with that in mind, we will be covering the 15 brand new RPGs coming to Xbox and Xbox Game Pass in 2024. My name is Fletcher. This is Xbox Nation. Subscribe for more Xbox content every single week, and let's dive right in. Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines is the definition of a cult classic. While rough around the edges, the RPG features fantastic writing and characters, along with a great deal of customization that provides players with plenty of creative freedom. It is a masterpiece that for a long time seemed destined to remain as a solitary project. Since then, the Bloodlines 2 game has been pushed back a few times, and information regarding its production has been very inconsistent. Set in Seattle, Bloodlines 2 will let players create a newly transformed vampire, which will involve picking things like their human background and preferred discipline. In terms of gameplay so far, it seems like the sequel will stick close to its predecessor, therefore expect first-person action with a very heavy focus on a dialogue system. It is due to arrive sometime this 2024, so we'll update you once we know more. More than a decade has passed since the last Dragon Age game, and the world is long overdue for another BioWare masterpiece. Even if the sequels were polarizing, the franchise still holds a lot of weight in the RPG sphere, and a new entry will not only attract a lot of attention, but also be held to a very high standard. According to reports, a sequel has been in development for quite a few years, and the process has not been very smooth. A complicated development cycle does not have to result in an underwhelming final project, but fans may want to temper expectations until more information is officially released. Still, Dragon Age Dreadwolf will be a big deal when it eventually comes out sometime later this year. Dragon Quest XII is a weird one. Since being revealed in 2021, Square Enix have barely uttered a word regarding the next mainline entry in the storied RPG franchise. Dragon Quest's influence and popularity cannot be understated, particularly in Japan, where the series is nothing short of a cultural phenomenon. While there was a fairly long dry spell after Dragon Quest VIII, the 11th mainline entry was a hit in Western countries, elevating the license to international highs it has not experienced for quite some time. Perhaps Square Enix announced Dragon Quest XII's existence a bit prematurely, but whatever the reason, the post-reveal silence has lasted slightly too long. Hopefully the publisher will expand on the game's development at some point in the future, as the gaming world is really ready for a new mainline Dragon Quest adventure. Subjective opinion aside, The Witcher 3 is objectively one of the best RPG in the history of gaming. And for the longest time, the 2015 release seemed destined to be the last mainline entry in CD Projekt Red's franchise. At least that was the case until 2022, when the developer announced several new Witcher projects. Along with a remake of 2007's The Witcher, CD Projekt Red also confirmed that a new saga is in development. The studio has remained very tight-lipped about what this may entail, outside of confirming that the game or games will use Unreal Engine 5. We recently got a screenshot on X showing the development team have now put in focus onto the new Witcher series, so this may be coming out very soon, and I'm hopeful we'll see the remake in 2024. A new Monster Hunter is always a cause for celebration, and Wilds looks primed and ready to be an impressive work of art. Although details are fairly scarce at this point, Capcom have confirmed that a 2025 release is on the cards, and that the game will launch on both the Xbox Series X and S and PC. Consequently, Wilds will likely have more in common with World rather than Rise, since the latter was designed around the Nintendo Switch's limitations, resulting in fairly small maps compared to its predecessor. Now, an argument could be made that Monster Hunter exists in a unique category outside of RPGs, which is certainly fair. Still, the games always incorporate a variety of role-playing elements, and they are generally good picks for fans of the genre who want to focus on action over story. While not everyone loved the shift, Assassin's Creed has been steadily implementing more RPG elements since Origins, with Mirage being an exception. Ubisoft's upcoming entry, Assassin's Creed Shadows, looks to continue this trend. Set in feudal Japan, this project will feature two protagonists, a shinobi named Nao and a samurai called Yasuke. Except for certain missions, players will be able to swap between these characters on the fly, and they will have unique skills, weapons, and playstyles. The dual protagonist structure is compelling, especially since Nao seems to be designed to facilitate stealth-based combat similar to the older entries in the series. As November 2024 approaches, Ubisoft will gradually pull back the curtain and reveal more of Shadow's unique ideas, hopefully paving the way to one of the best Assassin's Creed games that we've had in years. A new Atlas production is always exciting, and Metaphor ReFantazio is far from an exception. Announced halfway through the 2010s, the game has finally reached maturation, allowing a release date to be set for October 2024. While taking inspiration from Megami Tensei, Metaphor ReFantazio should be introducing quite a few twists to the Atlas formula, including a battle system that blends real-time and turn-based combat. Going on the current information, action combat is used for easy battles, whilst harder fights switch to turn-based. Set in a fantasy realm that has been entered into a period of disarray due to a king's demise, a tournament has been declared to crown the next ruler. Your protagonist is aiding the kingdom's prince, and they will be accompanied by a plethora of other playable characters. With this being another Atlas RPG, I have no doubt that this will be a high standard in RPGs into the future. S.T.A.L.K.E.R is a difficult series to define. The games are first-person shooters, but they are hardly similar to most of the genre's popular releases. Open world is more of a theme and concept rather than a full-blown genre, and S.T.A.L.K.E.R's very harsh universe and survival elements are fantastic. Survival horror is somewhat accurate though, although newcomers expecting something in the vein of Resident Evil or Silent Hill will be very disappointed. The same holds for the RPG's descriptor, although the games usually incorporate enough ideas from the genre to be worth recommending to fans, provided they are not averse to S.T.A.L.K.E.R's other categories. Seeming to be an ambitious evolution of its great predecessors, this new entry could provide a unique experience that no other 2024 project will be able to match. The game will be arriving onto the Xbox Series X and S consoles later on this year, and it will be available day one onto Game Pass. Black Myth Wukong has been making the rounds for a couple of years. Although the early footage was encouraging, the hype train picked up considerable steam in August 23, when some publications got hands-on time with this game, showing that it has more to offer than well-done trailers. Naturally, these previews only got to experience a sliver of what the final production will hold, but they did highlight the title's combat system that appears to combine magic, melee, and stance changes. Visually striking and featuring fast-paced and complex action, Black Myth could prove to be among 2024's nicest surprises. The game appears to provide a fairly fresh take on the Souls-like blueprint, utilizing that subgenre's penchant for tough boss fights and hard-hitting combat as a launchpad to craft something familiar but new. This looks like a great game and is due to be out sometime this 2024. RPGs are synonymous with grand, massive adventures. However, they definitely don't need to be. The Gentle Bros Cat Quest games are delightful. The available titles deliver short but sweet adventures, packed to the brim with charming NPCs, solid open worlds, and enjoyable combat. They may not have the jaw-dropping visuals or 100+ hours of content, but they are cute, polished, and overall very fun. The upcoming Cat Quest III should offer more of the same, albeit with a pirate makeover. Players will still travel across an overworld in search of quests, dungeons, enemies, and quite a few funny puns. The combo-driven combat is likely to be simple but flashy, and Gentle Bros promises to expand on this area when the game comes out. When it comes to new ideas, sailing appears to be a big part of Cat Quest III, which makes sense considering the pirate theme and the open world's island structure. This game looks utterly fantastic, and from a small indie team, I can't wait to get my hands on it. Good things come to those who wait, and the long-awaited arrival of Elden Ring's expansion, Shadow of the Erdtree, is just around the corner. Shadow of the Erdtree could prove to be the company's most ambitious expansion to date, with the release reportedly containing a plethora of fresh content. The DLC is set in the Land of Shadow, a new area that is supposed to be around the size of Limgrave. Naturally, this zone comes packed with secrets, dungeons, and fresh enemies that will almost certainly test capabilities of even the most experienced players. Historically, From Software's expansions tend to contain harder bosses than the base game, and there is nothing to suggest that Elden Ring will be an exception. Despite being just a DLC, Shadow of the Erdtree will undoubtedly be one of the biggest releases of June 2024. The long-running and massive MMORPG Final Fantasy XIV gets even bigger this year with the introduction of Dawntrail, an expansion that will take you to the continent of Tyrol. When it launches, Dawntrail will raise the level cap to 100, as well as introduce a new playable race and 2 new playable classes to master, Viper and Pictomancer. Naturally, the new expansion comes packed with new dungeons, raids, allies and enemies, and updates to existing classes and systems. Final Fantasy XIV has become a juggernaut in the MMO space, and with Dawntrail, that momentum isn't stopping anytime soon. You can actually play 2 expansions of Final Fantasy XIV via Xbox Game Pass, so make sure you check them out before this new expansion releases. Obsidian Entertainment made its debut under new ownership with The Outer Worlds, a spacefaring RPG with satirical elements reminiscent of the Fallout series. For its follow-up, it's going to be back to a more traditional fantasy trope with Avowed, a sword and sorcery RPG that retains the first-person perspective and world-building prowess of its other projects. This is bound to be one of Xbox's biggest releases this year, and it got the star treatment during a recent developer direct stream that detailed even more about the characters, dialogue system, combat, and more. This new entry looks absolutely fantastic from Obsidian, and I can't wait to experience a new IP by this team. From what we have heard so far and the rumors in the background is that the game is even more polished than what we saw prior. This comes sometime in fall 2024, and it will be coming to Game Pass day 1. The first new console Mana game in years, Visions of Mana, looks set to bring the series into a modern era. A dedicated segment during the recent Xbox Developer Direct showed plenty of gameplay, focusing especially on how classic mana monsters have been visually updated and modeled for use in a 3D game. And if that wasn't enough, a new rideable animal companion was also shown, and it was absolutely adorable. So far, the story has been left a mystery, but everything we've seen indicates that Square Enix is recapturing the bright cartoonish visuals that the series is known for. If you're a JRPG lover, then definitely put Visions of Mana on your list as it arrives this summer. It's not often you see a shooter being touted as an RPG experience, and yet that's what the First Descendant is. The game is a mix of shooter and RPG styles to create a fresh and fun experience that you can play with your friends. That includes taking on bosses on a 4-person co-op adventure. The game's plot focuses on you and others defending a continent from an invasion. The more missions you do, and the stronger you'll all become. Overall, the deeper you go into the game, the more truth you'll learn about who you are and what it means to be a descendant. With loads of options you can give your character, you'll never be out of ways to customize your playstyle, and overall the content on offer just looks spectacular. This arrives in 2024, and after a few beta tests, it really is shaping up to be a great experience. What RPG are you looking forward to this year? Let me know in the comments below. Remember to like the video if you enjoyed, as it helps the YouTube algorithm find more Xbox gamers like you. Subscribe for more Xbox content every single week, and whilst here, check out the video on screen now of the 20 best multiplayer games you can play on Xbox Game Pass in 2024.